Hey guys, today we're going to focus on exponential growth and decay functions. So an exponential growth function represents a function that is increasing. The formula for exponential growth is f of x equals a times 1 plus r to the x power. So in this, a is going to be our initial value, or our starting amount. R is going to be the growth rate as a decimal. So they're going to give you the rate as a percent. So like it's growing at 5%, and then we're going to write that as a decimal. This is always going to be 1 on the inside. It is always 1 plus the rate. That 1 does not ever change. Okay, let's take a look at an example problem and I'll show you how we can use this. So example number 1. In 2019, Rutherford County had a population of 332,285 and is growing at a rate of 2.44%. So for part A, we want to write a function to represent the growing population. So we're going to start this same way we start all of our functions. F of x equals, the first thing that comes is our initial value, our starting amount, which is the starting population. So 332,285, parentheses, like I said, that's always a 1, so 1 plus. I'm going to leave the rate box blank just to put the parentheses to the x power, because that does not ever change. Now, to determine the rate, to go from percent to decimal, you're going to take the decimal point in your percent and move it 2 spaces to the left. So it would go there. So our rate as a decimal is 0.0244. So that's what goes inside. Now, inside this parentheses, we can actually combine these two numbers, and most of the times when you see an exponential growth function, that's what it's going to look like. So let's rewrite it here. It's going to be f of x equals 332,285 times 1.0244 to the x. So I just combined these two things and added them together. And this is going to be the function that we're going to use when we solve the next two problems. Okay, so for part B, what will the population be in 2022? So our word problem started in 2019. So in this case, x is representing how many years since we started, which was 2019. So if that represents 0, then all we have to do is take 2022 and subtract 2019 from it to figure out how many years have gone by. So in that case, it's been 3 years. So we're taking 3 and plugging it in for x. So I'm going to write out f of x equals 332,285 times 1.0244, now raised to the third power. Oh, this should have been a 3 in here, f of 3, because we are evaluating at 3. Now I'm going to grab my calculator, and I'm going to put that in exactly the way that you see it. So 332,285, parentheses, 1.0244, close parentheses, raised to the third power. So now this looks exactly the same as that. And I'm going to press enter. Okay, we have 357,206.5766. However, I can't have 0.5766 of a person. That's not appropriate. So in that case, we're going to round this. So when I write that out, we're going to have 357,207 people. All right, so part C, what will the population be in 2100? So to figure out what x is, we want to subtract 2019 from that to figure out what we're plugging in for x. Don't be afraid to use your calculators. You will have them for questions like this. So we get 81. It's been 81 years since 2019, so that means I'm plugging in for x 81. So f of 81 equals 332,285 times 1.0244 to the 81st power. So now I'm going to plug that in, exactly the same. 332,285 parentheses 1.0244 raised to the 81st. That's big. So my answer is, in the year 2100, there will be approximately 2,341,779 people living in Rutherford County. Now, is that likely? Is that definitely going to happen? Well, chances are it's not definitely going to happen. We use exponential growth as a way to kind of estimate what will eventually happen if the exponential growth stays the same. Now, we know for population it's really hard to predict when people are definitely going to move and where they're going to go, but for population growth and decay, this is a great model to use to give us an estimate. Now, is the world still going to be around in 2100? Who even knows? I can't tell the future, but we can use this as a way to kind of guesstimate. Okay, let's look at exponential decay now. An exponential decay function is going to be where it is decreasing. And just like in the growth function, A is still going to represent our initial value, and R is still our rate as a decimal. The biggest difference between these two functions is that the decay function has a subtraction here. So it's 1 minus the rate, whereas the growth function was 1 plus the rate. All right, let's take a look at our example problem. So in 2019, St. Louis has a population of 308,174 and is declining at a rate of 1.1%. So first thing we're going to do is write our function. So we have f of x equals our initial value, our starting population, 308,174, parentheses, 1 minus our rate to the x power. Same thing that we did last time for our rate. We're going to take the decimal point and move it 2 spaces over. So we get 0.011. So that's going to simplify to f of x equals 308,174, parentheses, 0.989 to the x power. All right, let's talk about the population in 2025. 2025 has been 6 years since 2019, so we're going to use 6 for x. So f of 6 equals 308,174 times 0.989 to the 6th power. Put that in the calculator. And I get 288,386. So in 6 years, the population went from 308,174 to 288,386. So it looks like they lost, in 6 years, it looks like they lost about 20,000 people. It is worth noting here that these two word problems that I wrote are using actual data that I looked up. So in 2019, the population of St. Louis really was 308,174, and they are currently declining by 1.1%. So this isn't that off of an estimate based on census data. Okay, last one up. Population in 2075. So 2075 minus 2019 is going to give me 56. So we're going to plug that in. F of 56 equals 308,174 times 0.989 raised to the 56 power. And that's going to give me, oh, I did the same thing. 56 power. That's going to give me 165,878. Now, statistically, if you look historically, if you look at the data for the city of St. Louis, they were increasing. They had a growth rate for a really long time, and since 2010, their population has started to decline in the actual city of St. Louis. So, in 56 years, is it likely that there will only be 165,000 people living in St. Louis? Probably not, because after a while, you would assume that their population is probably going to start growing again. However, right now, the way that things are going right now, they are declining, and they are declining at a rate of 1.1%. So we have to assume for now that that's likely to continue, which is why we're going to use this to make a prediction.